Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me again for another snippet as we um, are coming to the last parts of our Lenten journey this year. And I've been reading quite a bit in the Hours of the Passion, of course, that we read every day, and meditating on those hours. But as I was just reading some of the other writings in the Book of Heaven, I came across this one and I thought I would share this one with you because I thought it was particularly poignant and just reminding us that we're not when we're acting in the divine will, we're not asking for things on our own or doing things on our own. We're doing them in the divine will. We're doing it in the will of Jesus and laying aside our own will, and that um, creates tremendous power because God, we know, is all powerful. He does as He will, when He wills, what He will. And as we forego acting in our own will and in His will alone, many fantastic things can happen. And on this particular reading, on July the 2nd of 1900, so this is pretty early on, um, in this particular reading, Louisa holds back chastisements with her own sufferings. And sometimes I think we forget the power that the acts that we do in the divine will have, um, and how intentional those acts are in the divine will, the will of God. So Louisa says, I continue to be embittered and afflicted, as though dazed. We know that Louisa often felt this way as she was experiencing different messages from heaven and visitations from Jesus. But she said this morning he did not come at all. The confessor came and placed the intention of the crucifixion. At first, blessed, Jesus did not concur, but then, after I prayed him to deign to let me obey, he just barely made himself seen and told me, what do you want? Why do you want to do violence to me by force when it is necessary to chastise the peoples? And we know that Jesus would often disappear from Louisa, and she would complain about him disappearing, but he would say, I have to disappear because I have to chastise. And if come to you, you're going to ask me not to, and I can't refuse you. So I just have to stay away. But this time, he said, it's necessary to chastise peoples. And I, Louisa says, Lord, it is not me, it is the obedience that wants it so. And he, well, then, since it is obedience, I want to share with you my crucifixion. And in the meantime, I want to refresh myself a little bit. While saying this, he shared with me the pains of the cross. And while I was suffering, Jesus placed himself near me and seemed to refresh himself quite a bit. Now, while I was in this position together with him, he showed me a cloud in the air, pitch black, approaching from one point, such that it struck terror and fright at the mere sight. And everyone was saying, this time we die. While all were terrified, a refulgent cross rose from between me and Jesus, and advancing against that storm, put it to flight for the most part, so much so that the people seemed to calm down. I cannot tell for sure, but it seems to me that it was a hurricane accompanied by bolts of lightning and by hail so violent as to have the power to sweep factories away. And the cross, which dispelled it in great part, seemed to be my little suffering, which Jesus has shared with me. May the Lord be blessed, and may everything be for his glory and honor. I just loved this reading because I think it reiterates to us that We can share in the sufferings of Christ. We can, in his divine will, make reparation. We can offer him comfort. We can offer him solace. We can offer him some, in some way, um, repair for the horrible pains that he suffers daily. When we sin, this is like a nail in Jesus' hands and feet. It is suffering that we can't even imagine through our every sin. But as we lay down our will and we do things in the divine will and offer these acts done in the divine will for the reparation and salvation of souls, in Jesus' will, we know this is what he wants to happen. He's not holding back. He wants to save souls. He wants the damage to be repaired. He wants us in total communion with him, to be one with him in the divine will. Today I was reading I believe it's the 10 o'clock hour in the Hours of the Passion, talking about the pains that Jesus suffered. And as we read the Hours of the Passion, and particularly the agony in the garden, we come to understand that it's not so much the physical pains that were so horrible and agonizing for Jesus, although they were. It was the mental, the emotional, the heartache that he experienced that made him actually sweat drops of blood because of his great anxiety over what would be lost, souls that would be lost, the sins of man that he was taking onto himself. So I hope this encourages you to continue to strive to do your acts in the divine will, lay your own will aside. I know that it was very encouraging for me to be reminded of what's at stake as we do our acts in the divine will. And souls are at stake, reparation is at stake, solace to our Lord Jesus Christ is at stake. So let us do our acts in the divine will. I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful Lenten season. And we're using this to draw ourselves closer to Jesus and the divine will. Please leave your questions, comments, um, uh, whatever. In the comments section. I love hearing from you. I do read and respond to the comments. It means a lot to me. I get a lot of ideas from you guys. You're very good at giving me ideas about possibly different programs here on In His Will and what you'd like to see and hear. So I love hearing from you. God bless you all. You are such a blessing to me, and I know that we who share this gift of the divine will know what a great blessing it's been to all of us. So we'll see you next time in His will. Bye bye.